about akhlaq, the moral values. Today, the focus is on one of the serious spiritual diseases that may develop to a spiritual cancer and infect the whole soul system, and that is al-ghiba. الغيبة أن يتكلم خلف إنسان مستور بما يغمه لو سمعه، فإن كان صدقا سمي غيبة، وإن كان كذبا سمي بهتانا. To talk in the absence of a person. To say something that if that person heard it, makes him sad. Now, if what you said was truth and made him sad, that is ghibah, backbiting. If what it was said was not true, that is even worse. That is tuhma, that is accusation. So backbiting as a culture that contaminating many people in many communities. It's almost in every community, more or less, this poisonous practice exists. Al-Marhum al-Imam al-Khomeini Quddus Sirruh, he wrote, one of his books is Al-Arba'un Haditha. He collected 40 beautiful hadith on 40 moral aspects. And the chapter 19 and Tasa Ashar deals with the disease of backbiting. There is a hadith there. قال النبي عليه السلام هل تدرون ما الغيبة؟ He asked his companions, do you know what is backbiting? فقالوا الله ورسوله أعلم. You know better يا رسول الله. قال ذكرك أخاك بما يكره. To say something that your brother in faith doesn't like it. That is backbiting. It doesn't have to be just by tongue, it can be by Twitter, it can be by Facebook, it can be online, email, whatever. The same book, Al-Arba'un Hadithan, mentions a hadith from Aisha, a wife of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. قالت دخلت علينا امرأة فلما ولت أو مات بيدي أنها قصيرة فقال صلى الله عليه وآله اغتبيتها. She said that a lady came to our house, and when she was leaving, I did an ishara, pointed out, without saying anything, but saying like this, like, she's short. And the Prophet said, now you did a ghibah. Although what she said was true, she was short. But she didn't like it. But you tell somebody that you are fat, right? What's going on? You are so fat. And that person doesn't like this statement. And especially when the person is not there to defend himself or herself. That is ghibah. Then the Imam said, اعلم أن حرمة الغيبة تعد من ضروريات الفقه ومن المعاصي ma'asil kabira. There is no doubt that ghiba is haram in our jurisprudence, and no doubt that this is one of the big sins. The Prophet was there and Abu Dhar asked him, Ya Rasulullah, you said that al-ghiba ashaddu min az-zina. Why? I thought that the zina is much worse than ghiba, just you say something, you are not doing anything. أجاب عليه السلام أن الرجل يزني فيتوب إلى الله فيتوب الله عليه والغيبة لا تغفر حتى يغفرها صاحبها. If someone, la samahalla, committed adultery, what if this person regretted this evil action later on and repented and asked Allah for forgiveness? And Allah may forgive this person. But if someone did backbiting, it is up to the victim of the ghibah to forgive this person. He has to deal with the individual, it's not with God, because he violated someone's right. And now there are so many hadith that we don't have to, and we don't have time to go through all of them. Just a couple of them. من اغتاب مسلما أو مسلمة لن يقبل الله لم يقبل الله صلاته ولا صيامه 40 يوما وليلة إلا أن يغفر له صاحبه. If someone did backbiting, Allah won't accept his prayer, his fast for 40 days and nights. Al-ghibatu juhd al-ajiz. Imam Ali alayhi salam said those people really who sit down and they waste their time with backbiting, they are ajaza, they are like really handicapped that they cannot do anything, they just sit down and talk. Al-ghibatu ayatul munafiq, this is one of the signs of hypocrites. And obviously the Quran made it very, very clear. وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. Stop the disgusting practice of ghibah. Why? The same verse explains that the act of ghibah is like an operation of eating the flesh of your dead brother. You know those guys in Syria, I remember on YouTube, what's the name, Abu Saqar, when he killed one of the Syrian soldiers and he opened his body and started touching and eating his heart or lung or liver or whatever. That was a very disgusting thing in the world. Quran tells us that the ghibah is the same thing. The ghibah is to kill someone psychologically, his character be killed, and then enjoying eating the flesh. After you destroy this person, then you enjoy talking about that. So this is exactly an operation of eating the flesh of dead body of your own brother in faith. Subhanallah. Now why the Quran makes it so strong? In another verses, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُحِبُّونَ أَن تَشِيعَ الْفَاحِشَةَ فِي الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Those who like to broadcast the evil information, disgraceful rumors among the faithful, they deserve a very painful penalty from God. So far, based on this hadith and verses, we understand the seriousness of this sin, this disease, that infects our soul system and infects the whole spiritual existence of human being. Now, another point is that the sinfulness of this act is not just for the person who says it, but the person who sits down and listens to ghibah is the partner of this sin. So, based on this, in moral system of Islam, listening to any foolish talk, listening to any contaminating conversation that causes injury, that ruins the reputation of another individual, especially in the absence of that person, to put people down, to mock them, to say negative thing about them. This is all part of the sin. You didn't say it, but you listened to that. You are participating in an evil operation. This is why Imam Ali alayhi salam says, "As-sam'u lil-ghibah al-mughtab." Even the person who listens to it is just like the person who shared this evil information is just getting involved and participating in it. نظر أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام إلى رجل يغتاب رجلا عند ابنه الحسن فقال يا بني نزه سمعك عن مثل هذا فإنه نظر إلى أخبث ما في وعائه فأفرغه في وعائك. Don't listen to this ghibah, my son, because this person brought all of this dirty stuff that you have to purify your ears from letting him to pour all this impure stuff in your soul. So you don't have to let him to add to your soul this impurity and this poison. He warned that. Now, you know, sometimes the contamination is physical. If something smells bad, obviously you realize, because we have these 5 warning systems. We can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can touch. This warns us against any physical danger. But sometimes the danger is spiritual. And we cannot measure it with these physical senses. In that case, we need to use our mind, our conscience, our spirit, our wisdom to warn our souls against the spiritual diseases. The main thing, the minimum thing is that we remind ourselves of that golden rule that is accepted all over the world, a universal golden law that tells us you don't want to be hurt, don't hurt somebody else. You don't like somebody to sit down and backbite you, so don't backbite anybody else. You don't want someone to accuse you, don't accuse someone else. So this is, even if somebody doesn't follow the religion, but to follow just the common sense, we know how bad this practice is. A while ago I was at the airport and waiting close to the gate for the boarding to start, and not very far from the gate there was a bookstore, and I was looking, and there was a book that got my attention, Stopping Words That Hurt. And I bought that book and I read it at the airplane. And this paragraph got my attention, that the author said, listening to gossip is like watching violent movies or pornography. It takes you further and further to sin and violence. Somebody may say, well, I just look a little bit and then I stop it, and then little bit go further and further to the point that the person gets either violent or is ready to do haram thing. It's the same thing about backbiting and gossip. If you keep listening to it, you don't know when this may end. So how can we warn ourselves about this disease? Next time when somebody comes to you and says, you know Abu Ali? Oh, Abu Ali. Oh, I know him, he's a nice man. Do you know Muhammad? Did you hear what happened about Muhammad? The moment the person starts to attack someone, if you say that, yeah, I know he's a nice person, he's a nice man, he's a nice lady, and stop it right away. If you do that, you are in the audience of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, when he said, من تطول على أخيه في غيبته سمعها في مجلس وفي غيبته, correct both ways, فردها عنه رد الله منه ألف باب من السوء في الدنيا والآخرة. When somebody is absent and somebody is going to attack that person and say negative thing, if you stop that, if you close the gate of gossip right after you heard it, Allah would close 1,000 gates of evil for you. So it provides you with the safety and security. How come that we forgot about this very famous hadith? طوبى لمن شغله عيبه عن عيوب الناس. That if we focus on our own faults, then we are not thinking about the faults of other people. And Imam Khomeini in the same book of Al-Arba'un al-Haditha, he mentioned a hadith, two of them actually, as Isa ibn Maryam alayhim as-salam. One of them is that Jesus said, لا تكونوا مثل البعوض الذي يجلس على الأوساخ والقاذورات حيث تركزون على عيوب الناس. That don't be like the flies. You know, the flies sitting on the dirt and bring you more disease. There is another hadith from Ahlul Bayt, كونوا كالنحل. Be like the honeybees, that the honeybees, they sit down on the flowers and provide you with the honey. It's the opposite of flies that don't sit on the flowers. They look for a dirty area. If there is somewhere something vasakh, sit down there and then provide you with sickness. And then there is another hadith that again, مر عيسى ابن مريم عليه السلام معه حواريون على جيفة كلب فقال الحواريون ما أنتن ريح هذا الكلب فقال عيسى عليه السلام ما أشد بياض أسنانه. This is beautiful that Jesus and some of his disciples are walking and they pass a dead body of a dog. And some of the Hawariyun said, this is horrible. Look at this dog, is smelling like hell. And Jesus said, but look at the whiteness of the teeth of this dog, how white and how nice his teeth are. Instead of focusing on the negative, Jesus focused on the positive thing here. Now, you may say, but there are some exceptions. We cannot not to backbite at all. What if there are situations that we have to? Well, it's better not to think about exception, because the moment that we are looking to justify something, then it's dangerous. But of course, our fuqaha, and one of them is Marhum Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari, book of Al-Maqasib, is taught in Huzat al-Ilmiya more than 100 years now, Al-Maqasib. In the beginning of this book, Sheikh al-Ansari, he mentions more than 10 cases of exceptions that is jais, yajuz al-ghiba, like these cases. But again, just because something is jais is not wajib. You don't have to do it. If something is okay, you don't have to now do it just because it's okay. There are very few cases that really is real justification. He mentioned la ghibatul mutajahir bil fisq. If somebody doesn't care to make sin very openly, he goes to a nightclub and drinks and then take a photo and put on, Facebook, and he's very proud of it, that I did it. In that case, if you say that, this guy drinks alcohol, it's jais to say it. Well, it's jais, but it's not wajib. You don't have to say it just because it's jais, you say it. Why you need to say it? Anyway. Even in that case, this is من ألقى جلباب الحياة فلا غيبة له. Yeah. It's not haram, but it's not wajib either. Even if that person drinks alcohol and is very open and everybody knows, that's the only thing you can say. You cannot go and say something else that the people don't know about this person. This person may be 100 other problems, but nobody knows about that. Only one problem people know, and that is the alcohol. You can talk about just that single problem, not every other thing in his life. So, jais ghiba, this guy is bad. No. Nuzhul mustashir. Sheikh al-Ansari says that somebody, for example, comes to you and says, this guy came to my house and asking for my daughter's hand, and they told me that you know them, and they are telling me that this guy is perfect, he's faithful, he does nafilatul layl, he is just, very unique individual. But you know that this guy, he drinks, he smokes, he steals, he is evil. And now they want to marry. And this is very important issue that Nushul Mustashir, is istishara. They are really asking for your advice. And you have to say something. But even in this case, you don't have to go and open all the gates and say, this person is this, he's doing this, he's doing this. Just you can say that, I don't advise you to give your daughter to this guy. You don't have to go and open all the files now. Except there is really necessary, that's something else. Or another thing, Sheikh Ansari said, غِيبَةُ مُدَّئِدْ and nasab zuran wa kadban. Somebody is saying that, like, for example, ana tabibul qalb. He never went to medical school and says, tabibul qalb. And you know that people may go to this guy, he's not really a doctor, he's not a cardiologist, and this person may be killed. So in that case you can say, no, he's not. Somebody said that I'm a sayyid, and he's not sayyid. Somebody says I'm mushtahid, somebody says I'm this. So in case that someone claims something that's not true, you can just limit it to that. There are many other cases like al-ghiba بقصد النهي عن المنكر بشرط إذا لم يرتبه فسوف يبقى مصرا عليه. That really is nahy عن المنكر. You want to stop a big danger, a big corruption, something seriously important. But anytime you have to have a right judgment that, by backbiting, the dignity of this individual is in danger. The dignity of human being is the highest thing. You have to judge fairly and honestly that now this case is more important or the dignity of this person. is really, this ghiba is so necessary and so wajib, that's going to be a big deal if I don't do it, compared to the dignity of this individual. And most of the time you see that the dignity of individual is much more important. So even the cases that the ghiba is jaiz, is not wajib, and even if you feel that it's really a duty to say something, you have to be very careful what to say and how to say it, that again you don't cross the moral borders, because you open the Pandora's box and start this conversation, you don't know that when this going to end. So the reason I mention this, because sometimes we see that people on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, they say so many things. They talk about the masajid, they talk about the marakis, they talk about the ulama, they talk about community members, community leaders. And anything that happened, they say, oh, why the masjid doesn't do anything? And they want the masjid to be parent, masjid to be school, masjid to be government, all of this. And the same person who says this, if you tell him that, are you ready to give a sadaqah $1 a day to your mosque or place of worship or place of education, that's only like $30 for the whole month or just for the whole year. Or are you ready, forget about money, are you ready to spend 10 minutes of volunteer times a day? Are you ready to become a member of the board of that mosque or that center and help to operate? You come and take care of it. You come and you become a decision maker and you correct these problems that you are talking about. If you are not coming, if we don't see you anytime in Salatul Jummah, we had like 4 or 5 functions last weekend about Prophet Muhammad. None of these people who talk, they ever come to any of these functions. Then we have to be very responsible and zip our lips and stop words that hurt and the words that consider as backbiting. Only one case that the really backbiting is justified in the Quran. لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم. When person is victim of injustice. If that really happened, the Quran said, now you can open your mouth against the zalim, against all these zalim, the oppressors that brought all this mess in the Muslim world, starting from Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and Yemen and Egypt and Pakistan and Afghanistan and everywhere, in Africa, in Burma, everywhere. People are dying every day. All these massacres. This don't happen by a jannah. The jinns don't do it. It's human beings, they do this. Those a'immatul kufr yad'una ila an-nar wa yawm al-qiyamati la yunsarun. These leaders that they moved communities to hell. And on the day of judgment, they are not there to help. One of those cases that the ghiba is jaiz is the Hukam Saudi. It's 35 years of they are spending and wasting all this money against one country, against Iran. For 8 years they were supporting Saddam Hussein with billions and billions and billions of dollars. And now they are again doing it everywhere, in Lebanon and in Syria and Iraq, doing the same mischief. Now there was a conference in Geneva. They pushed, they bribed everyone to stop Iran from coming to this conference. But look at Allah. Look at Allah that's saying, yes, Bandar bin Sultan, you have money. You have all these oil, dollars and riyals, but you don't have izzah. إِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. You could not get izzah and dignity with your power and your money. You want to stop Iran? right away, the same time, not in Geneva, but it's a better city in Davos, next to Geneva. They invited President of Iran to speak to 2,500 world leaders. Out of the 2,500, 110 of them were presidents, prime minister, secretary of states, including John Kerry and Al Gore and others. And President Rouhani was the first speaker of that huge international gathering. Can you imagine? You stop everything, but at the same time, the same country, in a better city, in a bigger gathering, you have this man who comes, and then when his lecture was over, Klaus Schwab, this person who founded this World Economic Forum, he sat down there in front of these 2,500 people and had a personal interview with Sheikh Rouhani. So you stop Iran and Lebanon with all this money and killing. And then at the end, this is the result. So how much more money you want to waste after 35 years and getting no dignity and no respect in the world? And Allah says, قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. You can die out of your jealousy. You can die out of those spiritual diseases in your souls and hearts of the Saudis and Salafi and cooperation with the Zionism and all of them. You can see the result that you have your way and your plan, and Allah has His own plan. You have your kaid, but Allah is the best planner, and your kaid is da'if. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد وإلى الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.